Kalista is gutted once again, and it looks like the top laners are finally saved and marksman will finally go back to the bottom lane. Or maybe I'm speaking too soon because there's another lane that needs to watch out. Hello Summoners and welcome back to another ProGuides High ELO tier list. I'm Nathan Ng and today I'll be your host for this video. Once again, we're running through which champions are the best ones in High ELO games. Remember that all of this stuff is at the end of the day speculation, so you might see some changes in our next video. If you haven't already, please check out our patch 10.8 rundown video because it covers all of these changes for the new patch. We're going to be covering every single role, so make sure you stay tuned. For our question of the day, which keystone do you find the most satisfying to use? For me, I get a little bit of an adrenaline rush every time I see an Omnistone or Dark Harvest. Dark Harvest feels so good to activate on low health targets for that burst damage, while Omnistone just adds a little spicy RNG to my games that fuels my gambling addiction. Let me know your answers in the comments down below. Once again, Set has been nerfed. His W's damage has gone down from 90 to 210 to 80 to 180, which is pretty huge, especially towards the mid game where Set is supposed to shine. Nerf after nerf have put him in a weaker place than before. He's still definitely a powerful pick, but we've decided to drop him down to our A tier because even in high ELO, these constant nerfs are starting to really take a toll on him. What made Set especially OP in high ELO, actually all ELOs, was the fact that he could blind pick him into almost anyone and kill anything. This guy is far from gone, but there are now windows to put up a fight against him, and while that's good for the game, that's not good for Set. But who cares because I hate him. Urgot has also received some buffs this patch. His E was bug fixed while his R's cooldown was reduced from 120 to 70 seconds to 100 to 70 seconds. This will help him out, but it won't change his placement on our tier list for now, but might help out his new skin's buy rate. Kalista was hit with the gigantic nerf. Not only was her base armor reduced from 23 to 21, which may not seem that big, but also her E's slow has been lowered from 25% to 45% to 10% to 42%. And I cannot stress how big of a nerf this is. Kalista will be a significantly weaker pick in all regards because of this, and now she won't be able to bully out top laners nearly as effectively. She'll still do a pretty good job at it, but it's going to be a lot less oppressive than before. We've dropped her down to the B tier as a result of this. For this patch, our S+ tier remains untouched from last time, with Darius, Wukong, and Fiora remaining at the top and the most dominant picks. However, our S tier has a new member in it, replacing Set. Renekton has jumped all the way up to the S tier as the meta has shifted a little bit. Renekton is a very safe pick who's still able to hard carry the early to mid game. Once he gets rolling, he creates so much pressure in games. It's absolutely worth picking Renekton because of how much impact that he has when considering how safe he is. He hard counters a ton of champions that high ELO players want to play to hard carry their games. 1v9 queens like Irelia and Camille struggle so heavily against him that it's even resulted in his ban rate slowly climbing in this ELO. Thus, our S+ tier are now composed of Kled, Shen, Jax, and Renekton. Crocs are finally in style. Now, let's talk about the jungle. Some systematic changes this patch have left ganking junglers in a worse spot. It's difficult to make so many shifts at once, so we'll be sure to be much more comprehensive next patch. Since the majority of the jungle pool is simultaneously being hurt and helped this patch, the relative distance of strength between each champion should remain about the same. Players will now receive a mini home guard buff respawning upon death, and this means that successful ganks early into the game aren't nearly as impactful as before. All players will be punished a little bit less on death as they'll be able to get back onto the map quicker than before. In compensation, jungle items now heal for 50% more than before, with their users being below 30% health. Also, jungle experience has been increased by 10% after level 9, so at the very least junglers just got something in return. Master Yi was the target of some nerfs in this patch with his R's bonus attack speed that took a hit. Funnel strategies have taken another nerf as well this patch, so it's likely that Master Yi's play rate will continue to plummet. For now, he'll remain in the C tier as a niche pick since power farming your jungle still looks quite promising for now. Evelynn, on the other hand, was buffed this patch. Her Q deals 5 more damage at all ranks, that means 15 more maximum damage. A buff is a buff, and because of its low cooldown, this will help Evelynn's jungle clear as well as her skirmishing quite significantly. For now, she'll also remain in the A tier, but we'll have to watch closely and see if it pushes her into S tier in high ELO. We've also made a couple of other shifts in the jungle tier list from last patch. First of all, we've pulled the trigger and shoved Wukong into S+ tier as well. This chimp is OP everywhere. There's no denying that he'll be joining Rek'Sai and Elise as part of the best junglers for patch 10.8 squad. In the S tier following them, we also have Lee Sin, Graves, Karthus, Kha'Zix, Rengar, and Zac. Next up, our favorite spooky scarecrow man Fiddlesticks has been placed in the A tier because of how much pressure that he holds across lobbies. So many players still hate playing versus him, and I'm sure that the moment people stop banning him so much, he's gonna be blatantly dominating the Summoner's Rift, as well as the Howling Abyss, but if you're a filthy casual, but you can't also ban him there. Anyway, Xin Zhao has been moved up to the A tier. His buffs last patch did even more than expected, and he's finding a lot of success in high elo as a result of some extra healing on his passive. I'd heavily advise players to pick him up this patch, as the phase rush buffs last patch may have made him more difficult to deal with all stages of the game. His ganks are straightforward and extremely effective. That's a wrap for the jungle, so let's hop into the mid lane next. The mid lane only saw 2 balance changes to Ryze and Ori this patch. Ryze's base health went up from 570.48 to 575. His base AD went from 55.04 to 56, and his Q's movement speed went from 20 to 40 to 28 to 44% bonus. High ELO players will especially notice these minor buffs, as we've decided to bump him up to the B tier as a result. Although players in Plat or Diamond might not notice any differences, players in Master tier and higher have already been finding good success on him and will continue to do so, because at the end of the day, Ryze got buffed. Orianna has been failing to find success in elite levels of play, and the buff she received this patch should hopefully help her out. At the very least, she's a safer pick than before, with her W's movement speed and reduction were increased by 20 to 40% to 30 to 50%. Also, the AP ratio on her E went up to 0.4 to 0.5. Unfortunately, she'll remain in our C tier for now, however, as there are other control mages who are currently finding more success than her. Aside from moving Ryze up on our tier list, we've also moved Sylas up as well. Sylas has been seeing a lot more play and has been slowly showing how powerful he is in high ELO. Our S+ tier still consists of Katarina and Echo. Although Echo might not seem as blatantly powerful as the other assassins, remember that he flexes into the jungle, which shakes up drafts a lot. Once a team locks in Echo, counterpicking lanes become a lot more difficult. In the S tier, we have Kiana, Diana, Cassiopeia, Vladimir, Fizz, Talon, and Wukong. We want to take a second to highlight 2 mid lane picks, one we just mentioned. First is Sylas. Although his win rate appears low at first glance, it's still quite impressive for the kind of champion that he is. Sylas's plays skyrocketed last patch and his win rate also increased. This is a sure sign that he's been slept on for too long and that he's incredibly powerful. The next pick that we want to mention is Pantheon. He's kind of low-key at the moment, but someone's got to mention him, right? He's been absolutely killing it in the mid lane as a result of his lane dominance and side lane pressure. Pick him up if you want some free wins. Also, it's likely that we'll start seeing more marksmen in the mid lane. Specifically, Tristana was buffed this patch and we expect her to make a return to the mid lane in the near future, so we'll keep you posted on that in our following videos. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you can see and receive notifications on any new content that we release. Now let's move on to the bottom lane. A lot of changes have hit the bottom lane in terms of both the meta as well as balance changes. First up, Senna got nerfed again. I can't say this without a smile on my face, but she has been scaling too reliably and she's been toned down once again. Her passive's drop rate on minions she doesn't kill has gone down to 25% to 22%. While it's not a giant nerf, I think I'll take everything that I can get, and it will make her scaling much noticeably slower. Not picking up as many miss wraiths means that Senna's AD and attack range are going to slow down into the late game, not by much. She's still an incredibly versatile pick, however, so Senna will remain in the S tier for now. First, let's talk about my boy Aphelios. He got hit hard this patch. His bonus armor penetration from level up stats has been changed to lethality. Instead of 3 to 18% armor pen, it's now going to be 2 to 12 lethality. His Q will also scale from levels of 1 to 13 instead of 1 to 9. At level 13, his Q will have the strength it currently has at level 9, meaning that it's going to take more time to hit his full power. Aphelios is being moved to the B tier as a result of these nerfs. Especially with lethality and replacing armor penetration, he's going to feel a lot weaker than before. Next up is Varus. His R's cooldown went up from 110 to 70 to 130 to 70. An extra 20 seconds on his ultimate early means that there's less opportunity to make plays. And not only does this mean that he has less kill pressure, but it takes away some safety too. Essentially, his R is his strongest self-peeling tool, and not having it for potential tower dive is absolutely crushing for Varus. He'll still have the same playstyle and probably remain a relevant force in the bottom lane, but there should be more room to capitalize on Varus's immobility now. He'll remain in the C tier because he's a volatile pick who gets bullied out by junglers. Alright, Kalista is out. The changes that we mentioned earlier hurt her a lot and moved her down to the B tier as well. A huge drop considering that she was previously an S tier pick on our list. Kalista is finally relevant after so many years of just being out of the meta, and now that she finally is, Riot was like, no, get out of here. Let's talk about Xayah now. Xayah has been pretty mediocre as a pick since the beginning of the season. She's finally received a buff where her E's fall off per feather has gone down from 10% to 5%, meaning that her damage has gone up. We placed her in the C tier as this looks quite promising for her. Anyone else notice that Xayah is a female Hawks from My Hero? Anyway. Ashe has also received a buff this patch. Her Q's attack speed have gone up a lot later into the game. Its ratio was reduced from 20 to 40% to 20 to 60%. The extra 20% attack speed will be especially nice in the late game once Ashe has some finished items. That's a little bit more than a dagger's worth of attack speed, and Ashe is an especially powerful pick in high ELO because players know how to properly use her hawk shot. The fact that she'll be a little bit more reliable late game is a nice touch to a really solid pick. Tristana received a huge buff to her E. Its AD ratio went up to 50 to 130% to 50 to 150%. Hyper-aggressive Tristana play can easily take over games, especially when teams just play around this top side of the map. Without jungle interference, Tristana players can constantly jump on their foes and force fights. In other words, snowballing is easier in isolated lanes, and high ELO players will definitely take advantage of this. For now, however, Tristana will remain in the A tier. In our S plus tier, we still have Miss Fortune. Same old news, and she just might retire as an S plus tier pick. I would like to see one patch where they don't nerf Aphelios and just maybe nerf Miss Fortune instead, or just, nerf them both. I just don't understand. Anyway, in the S tier, we have Senna, Cassiopeia, Heimerdinger, and Ezreal as well. Aside from Cass, these champions dish out safe, consistent damage, and are great picks into most lane matchups. They're great champions as a result, and you'll always be able to contribute to fights. Finally, let's talk about supports. Once again, Soraka was buffed to help her find her footing in the meta. Her base mana went up to 375 to 425, and her Q's mana cost went from 60 to 80 to 45 to 65. With more mana to work with, Soraka now has more tools to trade with. For now, we'll be keeping her in the A tier, but we'll monitor her to see if she gets out of control. Otherwise, the only other change that we made to this list is that we've added Fiddle to the C tier and Galio to the B tier. Spooky Scarecrow Man hasn't been performing too well, but he's relatively new and we need to give players a little more time before writing him off altogether. In our S tier, we have Thresh, Leona, Blitzcrank, and Bard still. These champions are still the ones that have the most impact over games because of their insane playmaking potential. However, one pick we do want to talk about is Galio. We placed him into the B tier because of the success that he's been finding as a support. Galio has been popping off, so don't sleep on him. The extra magic damage protection he provides is extremely useful, and he's a great answer to many other melee supports because of his high damage and defensive properties. He can also roam to the mid lane to help out the mid laner. And that's going to cover our high ELO tier list of patch 10.8. Thank you guys so much for watching, and once again, make sure to check out ProGuides.com as well as our YouTube channel for content just like this. Also, let us know what you thought of the video. We're always reading your comments and always trying to improve from them. And until next time, best of luck, Summoners, and I will see you on the Rift and in the comment section down below.